How I make YouTube videos. Some of you might have noticed that I will state, this is take number whatever. This is take number 2, by the way. But it's not of the same content, so it would just be the first take. One of the things that's wrong with me is that I have upper respiratory damage that is, at one time, diagnosed as permanent. That was caused by childhood illnesses, whooping cough and strep throat and that sort of thing, permanently damaging my lungs. When I talk, I'm hitting a note on purpose sometimes, most of the time not, that has a habit of getting crud out of my upper respiratory system, out of the throat. And it makes it so I can breathe easier and do the second take. Now, the first take isn't called a spit take, even though that seems appropriate. I call it a gag take, or gag reel, or outtake. Yeah, those are used for different things, but it really is the same thing. A lot of the outtakes gag reel. It isn't that the gag reel was the joke reel. Well, yes, it was. But it was also that name as a double entendre, when people would cough or gag. That's what I was told when I was younger. I don't know if it's true. Yes, it's an extremely old expression. So one of the things I do is I just assume the first 1 or 2 takes, hopefully only 1 or 2, are to be thrown out because I coughed, sneezed, or something else. So that's 1 minute and 27 seconds lost. Let's do the video subject. People who interpret, or should interpret, a car or any other piece of equipment that we come in contact with that another person owns or controls as being trying to send a message. People who have cars that look aggressive. That's the expression you see people use when they type it up in the comment sections. A certain paint color is considered aggressive or whatever. So let's talk about this real quick. If I had a vehicle and I wanted to make sure no one brake checked me or rammed me or road raged me, would I want the car to look just a little bit different so that they would question whether or not they should pick a fight with me on the road? Not because there's some consequence, I'm not going to have one, but the perception of the individual that I'm someone to pick on. Now that sounds like a really projection-based thing, and it is. But I really habitually watch dashcam videos. And one of the most terrifying things about dashcam videos is people who intentionally cause an accident because they're trying to assert dominance or something. The only thing worse than that is if you look up the license plate numbers, you find out that they've been on the road for years and years and nobody took their license from them, and it's the same person. It's very easy to find out that they do this. These are things that are trivial to take someone's licensing from them. You can say you're not allowed to drive anymore, and that's it. It eliminates the problem. It's like my complaint about drunk drivers. If someone has been caught drunk driving more than once, they can pick drinking or driving. They have to have a car with a breathalyzer for life. They have to have their license taken from them. They pick one of the two. They can't have both. You can't drink anymore, and you can't drive at the same time. You have to pick one or the other. When it comes to aggressive drivers, they should be banned for driving for the rest of their life because it is a personality quirk. Oh, it was just one day. No, it happened 3 times or twice. It doesn't matter. I think a 3 strikes and you're out thing would be bare minimum at this point. Because what you find out these individuals do is that they do something that will affect everyone on the road that day. Now, hear me out. What if I made my car to where nobody would want to brake check me? It doesn't have any effect on whether the car works. In fact, it affects nothing. I don't perceive anything different about the car while I'm in it. Would I think that I could be more aggressive on the road? That's possible. But doing so in a car that's maybe perceived as aggressive, I think that would be taken into consideration in a courtroom maybe. So I wouldn't want that to be perceived. But if I was driving a car and no one picked a fight with me on the road, the only time a road rage incident could happen, hypothetically, is if I caused it. And if I caused a road rage incident, it'd be just like anybody else. The majority of road ragers invade the lane of the person driving or do fast lane changes, quote unquote aggressive driving, and or offensive driving, and or hit the brakes. There's only 3 real varieties. All you have to do is stay in your lane and not deliberately try to swerve and drive someone off the road. Anytime anybody did that, I would have them banned for driving within that jurisdiction or the state for life, and that's it. There's no reason. It's like, well, this is... no, you have to admit you're an aggressive driver, and you did this, and you were wrong. The first thing that's out of the mouth of an aggressive driver is they're going to try to defend their actions even though they're indefensible. At that point, it's a personality problem. Now go ahead and put below how this has to do with politics. But let's talk about me driving a car that looks like, I'm going to call it the Ford Pig or the Russian oligarch armored vehicle looking thing. Or I'm driving a car that's understated, but it's clear it's meant to be not just deserving respect or commanding respect, but beat you into submission for respect kind of designs. That's how people perceive them. I'll try to give a link to the vehicle. Would that reduce the likelihood of someone actually doing that? Well, this is what you find out. Unless it's a specific thing like BMW drivers, most people who see an aggressive car will either react one of two ways. They'll stay away from it, or they'll deliberately pick a fight with a person. Yeah, because they perceive them as, oh, that's an aggressive act. Again, that's another person projecting their feelings on the fact that your car appears aggressive. Now, I'm a bicyclist. I'm a Portland, Oregon bicyclist. I'm a militant bicyclist, as militant as it gets. But when I see a car that has an Angry Birds look, that's what it's called sometimes, or aggressive, I just perceive it as grumpy or done with it. It just looks like a facial expression of someone who spent the whole day dealing with annoying, stupid people. In fact, some of them, it's like they're literally dealing with the end of the day and they're on their way home. And look, it's like, you can see videos where people say, wow, the car's shape or face describes how I feel. Projection. But let's talk about the lights and the grille and bumper. Air vents are optimized for airflow, but sometimes they're done for aesthetics. In fact, a lot of the time. The headlights, however, because they use lower power yet higher brightness, so if you use the same amount of power, you can get much more light out of them. From HID to halogen to LEDs to whatever is next. The lights can physically take up less space, which means you have a much more focused dot of light source that you have to work efficiently. Some of those require a bigger surface area for a reflector to contain it and then project it correctly. In the past, reflectors had to be made pretty simply because you couldn't make anything complex that would put the light in a pattern in front of the car that would be perfect. And you have to understand that the light is perceived as either a really tiny dot, which is very glary and very painful, or a broad pattern that doesn't hurt the eyes and you can look past it. And that may or may not affect whether or not it's effective in the area in front. Having the lights angle in like this so they look angry may be to make sure the light goes where it's supposed to. I mean, it may not be done for the purpose of aesthetics. And it should be noted that many companies will have the salesmanship people decide what the technical stuff is. These days it's easier to do that because you can just design things faster. It's cheaper to design these things. So you end up with lights that seem to be little squinty eyes or really big ones or angled and angry looking or goofy looking. And that's a real thing. But most of it is for putting the light where it needs to go. Not all of it. Some of it's for aesthetics. And the airflow is optimized in the grille, and it could have all sorts of shapes. Well, they chose to make it look aggressive. They chose to make it look like a big teddy bear nose. Everybody I've seen interprets them differently. Not everybody universally sees them as aggressive. It's pareidolia. It's a subjective thing. You're projecting. Ironic using the word projection concerning light patterns. Pareidolia, projection, the perception of grumpy, angry, or aggressive car designs. Or sexy ones. Don't type that in. Yes, this was caused by me going down a rabbit hole on YouTube because I cleared my cookies and it gave me what YouTube thought I meant. Another subject I'm not going to bring up. But anyway, the pareidolia thing. Now, I came way late to this discussion. People figured out a long time ago, oh, it's light design and stuff. People answered the questions when people said, why do cars look angry? But it does bring up a larger question. Are people just projecting this, and are they using that as an excuse to pull a Karen, as we call it these days, or a crybaby, we used to call it in the old days, or a tumbler, where they go around looking for people to get angry at? Like I said, if you appear to be, or someone perceives you as being aggressive, they'll either get away from you, or they'll gravitate towards you, and they'll engage you more, or get more aggressive. It depends on their behavior. If I'm driving a car, and following the laws and staying in my lane and doing what you're supposed to do, or I'm on a bike doing it, I'm doing nothing that deserves any response other than that's what I'm doing. But, well, yeah, that's it. But yeah, if you're in a car wreck and you have a car that looks like it's, designed to kill people, or it's angry, or you put what are called angry bird eye covers on it so it goes, that might be a bad thing in a courtroom. The jury might actually pay attention to that. It's entirely prejudicial and stupid, but it might get through. Bong bong. Next. Ratioed. Yes, I'm going to play the dumb boomer, even though I'm not a boomer. Am I a boomer? Whatever I am. Anyway, if you're not aware of what ratioed is, this is not a good video for it, but I'll put it at the top of the video. The ratio of likes to shares to comments under a posting on Twitter. This is no different than what we used to call the lightsaber effect of red to green or whatever it was on YouTube when we had our like and dislike ratios. Sharing isn't so much a thing on YouTube. People don't have a rating for that. So we have a like and dislike ratio, or what I call the view versus comment or whatever. If you have 1,000 subscribers but 1 million views, that means you did really good on the video. It doesn't matter what the like or dislike ratio is. That's our ratio. The idea of a ratio on Twitter is a little weird because it has to do with people saying, oh, you got ratioed because a bunch of people viewed your comment, maybe even liked it, maybe even shared it, but comments. And then they emphasize that people doing the laziest behavior interacting with you are downvoting, basically. And comments ratio, it's supposed to be shares to like, it's supposed to be high versus downvoting or whatever. This is no different than what happened on YouTube. So I'm going to be making my ignorant person comment on ratioing. It's no different than what happened on YouTube. I don't like that they took away the dislike button. I mean, we use it to say, oh, I'm going to pause the video, look at the discussion, see what the reviews of the video is before I watch it. I don't want to give the person a view, which they value very much, if they're just wasting everybody's time in the answer. Oh, look, the answer is at the last minute. I did a video yesterday about that, where the answer was at the last part of the video because the person would not just get to the point, like I'm doing here, apparently. Again, you can just not watch the video and just read the discussion description and look at the like, well, we don't have a dislike ratio. But the ratio idea is that somehow you've wrecked somebody by using the laziest method possible to mess with them. Again? That's just lazy writing. We're getting that again. So that's become a thing on Twitter or wherever. Gee, you're new here. Downvoting doesn't mean any damn thing unless it's backed up by why. That's why we look at the comment section. And we upvote the comments that are most appropriate, not the ones that are just angry or positive. We upvote the one that try to bring it up to the top, and we sah-geh in all of the others. Downvote all the ones that are garbage. I need to know what the video is about before I watch it. If they don't give us the description so I can just skip watching it, I'm going to need what everybody's reviewing is if I'm being alerted, warning, don't watch the video because of downvotes. I guess that bothered large corporations with YouTube channels. But yeah, it got abused a lot. That's why we need to have some sort of regulation to it, I guess. My proposal for ratio at the 13-minute and 55-second mark. Why don't we ignore the up and down vote button entirely and just post a comment with our review of the video, especially if they don't give us a discussion tab, or, a description. And we up and down vote the review. We can still downvote and upvote. If YouTube let that work, that would replace all of it. Or they could just give us our 5 stars back and get out of our faces. But yeah, ratioing is lazy, at least on other websites. And if anybody wants to come up with an improved method, I've just given one suggestion, that we have a comment that isn't pinned, that we can vote up and down, and if it's useful for us. It's very hard to control such a thing. Anyway, that's it for today. Ratios and why I think they're just lazy. And people perceiving cars and whether or not it's just technical stuff or just aesthetics or just a mixture of them. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck.